So, the topic I've decided to go over is radio, and what better way to talk about radio than to create a podcast? So, I'm going to start off by telling you a story. This story's from 1938. Millions of families were sitting around the radio waiting to hear a radio show. The announcer comes on and says that he's proud to announce the Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations present Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Now, most people that heard this would assume that this is the radio show they've been waiting to hear. Orson and his radio voice actors launch into the script right away. And the first thing they say, the first statement they make, is that we've been being watched closely by an intelligence greater than man's. And then all of a sudden the announcer comes back in and starts talking about the New York weather. A lot of people assumed that this was just a continuing part of the radio show, but a lot of people thought it went back to the regular news and they started to play songs and everything, but the song only played for a minute before once again the announcer's voice appears and he's saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News." He tells the listeners that there's been an explosion and then goes back to the music only to be interrupted many more times before saying that aliens have begun to invade the world. The story goes on, and many people that had just tuned in thought that they were listening to the news and that this was really happening, and so they fled and they got in their cars and began to escape the alien invasion. Of course, this is just a story, and there isn't a lot of proof to prove that it actually happened, except for front page news from the Boston Daily Globe. Could you imagine tuning into your radio and hearing this kind of skit today? You would probably fall off your chair with laughter. This just goes to show how much radio has changed. Our ancestors used to rely on them for news and entertainment, and now we have so many different mediums to turn to for entertainment and only really listen to our radios when we get in the car. While there's a variety of different things to listen to, from news to talk shows, music, and more, how much do you really even pay attention? Is the radio really more just background noise now? We have almost made radio obsolete. I don't know about you, but when I get in my car, I usually listen to the radio for about 0.5 seconds before I'm connecting my Bluetooth to play music that I like, a playlist, something from YouTube, a podcast, audiobooks, and that's what more people are listening to in their cars. But is this still a form of radio? I would argue that they are. There are podcasts that go over all kinds of topics. Music in the car, to me, is always radio. And audiobooks remind me a lot of the old skits like The War of the Worlds in 1938. We have come such a long way with radio, and it might just not seem like it. I said that audiobooks remind me of the old radio skits, and they really do. One set of audiobooks that remind me of skits are the Harry Potter books read by Jim Dale. He uses so many different character voices that I sometimes forget that there is only one person reading. It gives off kind of a feel of a play or a skit or something that you might tune in to listen to every chapter every week. What could the future of radio possibly hold? Will we have completely replaced radio with podcasts and audiobooks? My guess is that we will soon begin to air podcasts instead of radio. There are just so many more topics, and more people seem to be listening to podcasts in their car and homes than they are the radio anyways. This is because these podcasts are aimed more towards different audiences, where the radio is more of a general public. There are all kinds of radio stations, yes, the oldies, hip-hop, heavy metal, all kinds of things, jazz, country. But there aren't things like Getting Over the Fear of Selling, DIY podcasts, knitting, sewing, traveling, mechanics, let's talk hair behind the chair, book reviews. How many more podcasts can I even name? Or even things like, I don't know, I guess I just think podcasts are eventually going to take over, and that's what radio is going to be replaced by. The future holds many secrets and possibilities for the radio to advance or be replaced, just like today's version of the radio replaced the version of the radio decades ago.